Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Ree, who portrayed the character of Tommy Lee in Best of the Best 2.
And hello, my name is Robert Radler, and I was the director of Best of the Best 2.
As you can see, this montage of the opening sequences derived from Best of the Best 1.
And Best of the Best 1 was the first collaboration of Philip Ree and myself.
There goes Dahan. The guy in the eye patch is Dahan. Here's Chris Penn, who plays a character named Travis Brickley.
And Dahan is really Simon Ree, Philip's brother in real life, and with Philip, the choreographer of the two Best of the Best films I directed, numbers 1 and 2. Edan Gross was a great child actor who was in both Best of the Best 1 and 2, and also a black belt in his own right. Funny note about Ralph Merler, who plays the big bad German Brachus. We cast for him for the longest time and couldn't find anybody just big or mean enough to play that role. And one day I was walking out of my agent's office, and in walked the biggest man I'd ever seen in real life. I looked at Ralph, he looked down at me, and I said, "Are you an actor?" And he looked at me and he said, "Why?" And I knew at that moment that I had found the guy I wanted to play Brachus, and took him into the agent's office and started making a deal for him to play Brachus in this movie. By the way, Ralph was a former Mr. Universe and a good friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
Stock Exchange, this is helicopter 123 Tango Yankee on Vegas approach. We're 3 miles out from landing. Request permission to land.
Interestingly, the exterior of the Stock Exchange, the place where the Coliseum theoretically is in the movie, was actually filmed in Los Angeles. So when we see Las Vegas, we're really seeing both the real Las Vegas, some of Los Angeles, and 2 other cities as well, which I'll talk about later as we get to those scenes.
Signifying tower when approaching bed.
In reflection, looking at this scene right now, actually the mixed martial arts competition, which takes place in Vegas right now, is almost exactly like this. Very high profile. They have, I believe, the competitions in Mirage and also MGM, I believe. And but before then, they did not have competition like this in Vegas. So I think we created a monster bomb.
I guess we did. The scene you're seeing now, the interior of the Stock Exchange, the dance club, again, really was filmed in a hotel in downtown Los Angeles. And interestingly enough, some of it was filmed during or right before the LA riots, which actually got in our way as we were filming Best of the Best 2.
Good evening, Mr. Brachus. Hi, Mr. Brachus.
Lose it.
Sorry, Mr. Brachus.
What did I say about guns?
The dance club was filmed, to the best of my recollection, in Los Angeles, whereas the Coliseum was filmed in an entirely different location in Vernon, in downtown L.A. Some of the exteriors of Las Vegas, obviously, were actually filmed in Las Vegas, but we built the Coliseum itself on a big soundstage or warehouse, really, in Vernon, right near the Farmer John meat processing plant. Very romantic location.
And there's the infamous Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton, such a pleasure to work with. And I mean, you could just see that he's enjoying what he does. And he's such an entertainer.
He's the most comfortable entertainer in his own skin that I've ever worked with. Wayne has been in the public eye since he was 6 years old. And unlike a lot of other celebrities, this man loves his fans and will always stop, sign an autograph, say hello to somebody. He's earnest and he's good-natured and he's hardworking, and I can't say enough about this guy. The other thing is he knows how to walk the fine line between good and bad taste. If you see his Vegas show, he crosses over to bad a little bit. But in our movie, I wanted him to walk that line where he was, obviously he's Wayne Newton, and it's not inconceivable that he'd be emceeing fights to the death, for betting purposes. But I just said, we got to walk this line between good and bad taste. And he'd give me lots of choices, and it was just a blast to work with him. Even when, he was doing 2 shows a night on some days in Las Vegas, and then early in the morning, he'd fly his own jet to Los Angeles, be helicoptered to our set, work all day, and then fly himself back to Las Vegas and do 2 more major shows, and do it over and over again. And even when he was ill with the flu, that didn't even slow him down or change his very wonderful and positive mood.
I think what's so wonderful about Wayne is that, somebody of his stature, one could get really big-headed and be very arrogant. But Wayne is none of that. He's very humble, very cordial. He's so great to the people that he works with, and as Bob said about his fans, he's definitely very special.
Let's talk for a minute about the set, the Coliseum set. Again, it was built in downtown L.A., and it was an expensive set because it had to do a lot of things. It had to be the main focus of the fights. It had to be the ring where the fights happened. It had to be the anteroom to that. There was a gambling facility built onto the back of it where people could cast their bets. And if you notice, there's lots and lots of people in the bleachers. This set not only had to look the way it did, but it had to hold hundreds of people. So this was a lot like building a major structure, a major building. And it was built in such a way that there were 1 million different excellent camera angles from below, from the side, from above, whatever. It was a wonderful place to work. And the saddest thing was when we wrapped the next day, they were already taking it down. And I thought, what a waste. That was such a great space. Should have kept it for something. But of course, we couldn't have done that.
I think wasn't it Gary Fruitcomb?
Fruitop.
Production designer. He did a really terrific job. And there was Chris Penn, Travis Brickley. What was great about Travis' character was that Chris actually did kickboxing, and he learned boxing. He learned how to box way before we even met him. So he had the moves, and he had the right attitude to play that character, and which I think that he did a terrific job.
Chris was a tough guy in real life, but he had a very, very good heart. And even when we, went round and round on things from a directorial standpoint, he was always inclusive, and he always listened, and he always gave his opinion. You knew what he was thinking, and he was just a pleasure to work with.
The opponent that Chris is fighting right now, the style of the martial art he's using is called Muay Thai. It's a Thailand kickboxing. So you notice that his techniques as to using the elbows and the knees were very much different from Travis Brickley's techniques.
Chris was always fun because he'd come in on any particular day of shooting and have his own take on what the script said. So usually what came out of his mouth was not always what was written on the script, but it was always fun and it was always good and it was always appreciated.
Eden Gross, who plays Alex Grady's son, the form that he's doing actually is called Koryu-hyung. Koryu-hyung means black belt form that in order for, in the martial art of Taekwondo, in order to get to the black belt level, they have to do this form, which is recognized by the World Taekwondo Federation.
Interestingly, where that we're filming right now is outside of Las Vegas, north of Las Vegas, maybe 40 miles, in a place called the Valley of Fire. And you can't see it right now because it's dark, but later in the film I'll refer to it again. It's one of my favorite places in real life, and whenever I go to Las Vegas, I always take the trip up to the Valley of Fire. It was an Indian holy place, a power place, and in fact the Indians were actually afraid to go there at night, and it is a very strange southwestern kind of locale, and when we see it in the day, we'll talk further about it.
So tell me, how good are you? Really?
I'm good enough to beat any of your steroid freaks. Including that one.
There, Best of the Best 1 was a rather straightforward film, I think, compared to Best of the Best 2. One of the things I tried to create in Best of the Best 2 was kind of a dark underbelly. The idea that there's a fight to the death in Las Vegas, the fact that Wayne Newton is part of it. I tried to keep a thinly disguised sense of humor underneath all of it. In one of the reviews, that was my favorite review, somebody, I forget which newspaper it was, said that there was a undercurrent of black humor that kept popping up. And I wanted that there. I wanted this to work on a lot of levels, and I think it does work on more levels than even Best of the Best 1.
Present your papers.
If you could look carefully into the kids' red belts, they both have, all of them have double stripes on them, which means this form, these candidates who are testing are actually testing for the black belt test. So after this level, if they pass this test, they'll attain their black belts. And I think it was just sheer luck that we were able to cast Eden Gross, who plays as Alex's son. That I think we found out later that he was a black belt, right? He was really a terrific actor. And then, to our surprise, we found out he was also into the martial arts.
That's right.
I'm proud of you, Walter. You taught that boy a lesson. Now, it's showtime.
I can do it.
They're waiting on you.
Black belt candidates, are you ready to break your bricks?
We haven't talked much about Eric Roberts and his martial arts skills, Philip. Was he versed in the martial arts when we first started working with him?
Eric was very athletic, and he certainly really learned the techniques well, and he really trained hard for it. That was the beauty of Eric. I mean, he took the role very seriously. He worked out every single day to get him in shape, and he really worked hard at it.
Eric is really an actor's actor and demands from the director a lot of feedback. And I think probably in the first Best of the Best 1, maybe I didn't give him as much feedback as he wanted, but in Best of the Best 2, I tried to really keep him apprised of what I was thinking and what I was looking for and where he was accomplishing it and where he wasn't. And I think that kind of feedback for him really made our working relationship go a lot more smoothly, and we really saw eye to eye on what it was we were trying to accomplish. By the way, now we're really in Las Vegas. Did you have some, Phil?
No, go ahead.
Now we're really in Las Vegas. I love shooting in Las Vegas. I was born in Coney Island, so anything in New York, so anything that has flickering kind of carnival lights is attractive to me. I had shot a Jackson Browne music video in Las Vegas called Tender is the Night, and I really wanted to go back there for this movie only because of the incredible production value that shooting on those streets gives you. I just love that kind of sparkly American night imagery.
But the problem to our audience, I want to give some dirt. To our audience, one of the problems that we did have, not a big one, but since we were shooting in Las Vegas, our crew would disappear. And in the morning, we have our early call, and our crew would come in, and everybody would have red eyes. And we found out they were all gambling and gambling and drinking. And so the next morning, everybody was so hungover. But it wasn't detrimental, but it was funny.
How come I never know about these things? I never get to have any fun. The director doesn't get to have any fun on the set. What was worse than Las Vegas in terms of red eyes, though, was when we doubled Mojave for Las Vegas, this railroad town in the middle of the desert, because there the train went by every 20 minutes, day or night, and blew its horn. And there was maybe a 2-week period where I don't think anybody on Best of the Best 2 slept much.
And to those who will receive them tomorrow. To the team! To the team!
By the way, I want to say something about Philip Rhee and his brother Simon. Those guys, particularly Philip and Peter Strauss, our executive producer, gave me a very big break on Best of the Best 1. It was my first feature film. And it was a pleasure working with Philip, and still is, because he is one of the most driven and dedicated men I've ever worked with or I've ever met. He's the kind of guy who's up earlier than you are and goes to bed later than you are, and he's working the whole time. And it's a pleasure to be in that kind of milieu with people who challenge you to do your best and to work your hardest. I think a lot of it has to do with his martial arts disciplines being laid on in the film world. He was just great, and we both learned a lot from each other.
Okay, Bob, how much do I have to pay you for this one?
That was $1.95.
Okay. But, you mentioned Peter Strauss. In fact, the kid who's playing right now, where is he? In the yellow shorts, his name is Jonathan Strauss. Is our producer, Peter's son. Very bright, and so it's a delight that he was able to be in the film. Now he's a big executive at Yahoo, and but also I think the whole picture. Bob mentioned Peter. Peter, our producer, is such a gentleman who really held the film together and made this film happen.
By the way, my wife and son Ben were in the film as well, and the brick breaking scene earlier on, I didn't call attention to it, but that's when Ben was a little guy. I just sent him off to college. It's been a while since we made this film.
So yes, there is a little nepotism in this business.
Just a bit. Well, at least they were free.
Dad, I gotta talk to you about Martha.
What's the matter? You don't like her? I thought you liked her.
Oh, yeah, she's...
This scene was filmed, if I recall correctly, in a ranger station at the top of the Santa Susana Pass in the San Fernando Valley. It's a pretty nice house for rangers. That must be quite a job. But that's where this was filmed. We used a lot of different locations to represent Las Vegas and like that.
Martha freaks runs screaming into the closet, and I kick his butt. Dad, you said it yourself. I'm a man now, and real men don't need babysitters.
Oh, me. I got a pass, man. I got no one to stay with Walter.
I think what made the film a little bit different was that there is a regular, everyday life, single father taking care of his son, the relationship between the father and the son, and that they had such a great relationship with one another.
Understood?
Got it.
Okay. Hang this up. Tommy, we're out of here.
See you later.
Stay away from the Playboy channel.
So again, this shot is in,
Dad said I have to go.
to the best of my knowledge, in downtown L.A.
Go bowling tonight. Something came up.
You can't leave me here alone. I don't even have a babysitter. What if a serial killer broke into the house?
Get in.
See, there's that side of Chris's character. There's a soft side to him. I mean, earlier in the scene when he was in the office with Wayne Newton, there was an edge to him. There's a dark side to him. But as you can see, there's another side to Chris, which is so endearing.
And his ad-libbing is the guide to his heart. I mean, when he a lot of what he's saying here in this scene probably wasn't scripted. It's just Chris talking, and it's a lot of fun. If you just let him do his own thing, he's a lot of fun. By the way, these are the kind of visuals that I'm so fond of in in Las Vegas. The streaming night, the reflections. I actually wish I had done more here with the reflections on the windshields and all that, but we never did have very much time for these kinds of scenes. But yeah, Las Vegas offers all kinds of possibilities just in terms of the visual look and expanding our visual palette.
I think what was fun about shooting in Las Vegas was that we had the whole town for, they gave us such great, they opened the door for us. And we were able to go in, block off, many streets and really almost take over the town. And that was a lot of fun.
Speaking of a lot of fun, this scene where they leave the car and go into the back of the Coliseum, it was a funny thing. Chris Penn did it over and over and over again, and every time something small went wrong, forgot to turn the lights off in the car, forgot to close the door. Finally, I said, Chris, what's going on? Why is this so hard? And he got mad at me. This is the one time in the film he got mad at me. And he said, Bob, I'm a puncher. And he started running at me, and I ran off down the alley, and with Chris chasing me, yelling, I'm a puncher. But I think he was only kidding. But it's a story I like to tell because it was kind of fun. I got to run away and get off the set for a few minutes. And he was a puncher. He was a good fighter.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I don't remember whether when you turn on the light that sparkle was meant to be or not meant to be.
That sparkle was a special effect. That was that our special effect team created a little tiny explosion there to make that spark work.
Because there was so much light and voltage that was needed, right?
That's right. It takes a lot of power to power the Coliseum.
There you go.
To Mr. Travis Brickley.
What was so nice about this set is that there weren't any bad angles in it. I mean, almost anything you shot within the Coliseum was a good-looking shot. It was so dense with visual possibilities, and every angle worked. If you got low on Wayne Newton, which I like to do to make him look even more powerful than he already is, there was, you could look up on the set, you could look down, you could look sideways. It all worked from every angle.
Brackus was really a larger-than-life character, both literally and figuratively.
He was 6'8", I believe, the largest Mr. Universe ever. I remember trying to move him on the set. I grabbed him around the rib cage or something, and there were muscles where I just have like normal human body. I mean, that guy was ripped like you wouldn't believe. But again, a very, very gentle giant. I spent some time with him doing some motorcycling and some other stuff, cigar smoking off the set and after the movie, and just the sweetest, sweetest man.
In terms of the wardrobe, we wanted to have the wardrobe fit the characters in terms of their personality. Brackus, obviously, he is very, very much like a warrior. In terms of Travis, I think, the cut-off sleeves gives him that bad boy look, bad boy attitude, wearing red, which represents fire, to show that, there's a fire in him.
Just as an aside, the fellow who plays the spotlight operator above the Coliseum is Eddie Bunker. Eddie Bunker is a world-famous ex-con and actor and writer. He wrote Getting Straight, and he also wrote Runaway Train. He's a major talent and was a good friend of Eric Roberts.
Also, Brock is, as you notice, his physicality. We really lucked out with Ralph because a lot of bodybuilders are very, they're strong, but they're not agile. They're not flexible. And with Ralph, he was very graceful. He could kick, he could punch without looking stiff, which was a major factor to pulling off this character. So Ralph also worked out very, very diligently in his training. And also in terms of the Coliseum, as Bob was mentioning later, the Coliseum had to have a character of its own. So it had monitors, fire, the drawbridge. So it was the functionality of the Coliseum was in itself a feat.
And in the final scenes, we used both fire and nitrogen at the same time to create the thick smoke that the final showdown fight has. I think at one point we owned most of the nitrogen in California. It was hard to get as much as we needed.
Does he die?
By the way, the direction of the spectators was something that we didn't just take for granted. Wayne helped a lot with this, and I really tried to get them motivated and acted things out on the set and so on to get the kind of response from them that we wanted, and they were very cool. This next scene, however, is one of my favorites in the movie. This is a kind of surrealist, almost nightmarish scene in downtown Las Vegas. The shimmery backdrop you're seeing is actually a piece of mylar reflecting the street behind Edan Gross. And I'm a surrealist at heart, and left to my own devices, all my movies would look that way all the time.
There were a lot of friends always by my side.
Meg also was, I think she was terrific with Eric. I mean, she portrayed a great counterpart to Eric.
What's the matter?
Meg also has some of the most amazingly translucent eyes ever created. She has amazing eyes.
Yo, excuse me, gentlemen. Hey, I got a couple of men just cruised through the front door here.
And the stock exchange location, I believe, was actually the stock exchange downtown, if I'm not mistaken. That's where we filmed the dance club. the old Los Angeles Stock Exchange, now defunct. That's Patrick Kilpatrick on Wayne's right, and he's an actor that I've used time and time again in my movies. He just makes a wonderful bad guy. He's just a great character actor. And he has so many ideas. It's wonderful to hear his ideas and then pick the best ones. He has a propensity to go over the top, but it's great fun to spar with him about just how far we can take a look or a scene or an attitude. And just very, very great guy to work with. Wayne would study the script, and he'd come to me and he'd say, hey, I got an idea, or I got a joke I'd like to put in here, or let me try something. And I'd always let him do it, because if there's anybody who knows how to be a showman or how to work with an audience, it's Wayne Newton. His ideas were spectacular, and they were always fun. He improv'd a lot, and I encouraged it. I see my job as a director as kind of a big sponge. People give me their input. Some give me very little. Some give me a whole lot. And I kind of make decisions about what I want and what I don't, and what I'll take and what I won't. But I always listen, and I always get their input. And then, as the director, you make a decision, and it shapes the way the film really works. Again, here's some more really pretty Las Vegas footage.
I think what really, in terms of the characters, I think in any movie, if you care for the characters, you will follow the storyline all the way through. If you don't care about the characters, you could spend millions and millions of dollars, and you could blow up planes and blow up buildings, but if nobody cares, I don't think that people can relate to it. Here's a scene where we discover that Travis is dead.
This day started out very sunny and then got rainy and nasty, and our cameraman, Fred Thomas, was really kind of upset on this day that the sun went away and it got so ugly looking, but it really worked for this particular scene. I never had a problem with the fact that it got dismal, because it's a dismal scene. We also rented the, downstream from the Hoover Dam that day, and that was just a great location to work in. We had an underwater cameraman who spent hours, we had a wardrobe malfunction that day, and this man was under the water waiting for our actors to appear, and man, he was under there for hours. But that's his job.
What is this?
They just pulled our friend out of the river.
What do you want?
I want the man who killed Travis Brickley.
I told you guys before, Travis walked.
I think Eric is such a great actor. There are very few actors who could carry off the acting and also the action and the intensity that he carries. And to be able to do his own stunts.
I got 20 witnesses. I got 50 witnesses. I don't like you guys very much. Now get the hell out of here.
In this film, Eric showed us his tough side and also his soft side repeatedly.
Easily. Yeah.
Care to join him?
Brackus! Hold on, Brackus! We don't make any money like this.
Clear the path. Let's go. Move it.
Gus, get in here!
Alec, behind you. Step aside, please. Step aside. Let us through.
In respect to the choreography of this scene, I think what sets this scene up is this guy is wearing Travis's cowboy hat. And the techniques is used, I'm using aggressive grabbing and throwing techniques, opposed to Eric is using a lot of the hand-to-hand kick and punching techniques. What we wanted to do was to make it different, that we do not use the same techniques. So Eric using a lot of elbows, and which is very effective and very powerful. And my technique was using, in the beginning, a lot of the throwing techniques. This scene was it took us a long time to shoot that scene, but it really turned out well. We didn't use no wires. We didn't do any aerial flipping around. It was a realistic confrontation, and that's what we wanted to do, to show the realism of the fight rather than the cinematic acrobatics of the fight.
It's real classic martial arts techniques. That previous scene there where Brackus is looking at his injury in the mirror is a little bit of my surrealistic side coming back out. I just love that scene where he's reflected so large in the mirror. Now, theoretically, we should be in Las Vegas, but in fact, we are in Mojave shooting this scene, a cemetery in Mojave in the middle of the desert. But we found that a number of other locations besides Las Vegas, a lot of cheaper locations and easier to deal with locations than Las Vegas, worked very well for this film. Desert locations. Mojave is one. California City is another, which we'll talk about a little more when we get there.
And Dae-Han, Dae-Han, who portrayed the nemesis on Best of the Best One, comes back not as a nemesis now, but as an ally, come to help. Because he heard about the news of Travis Brickley. Actually, Dae-Han, he's my real brother. His name is Simon Rhee. Great martial artist. He just recently, him and his team got the Best Fight Choreography Award for Rush Hour 2. And the gentlemen behind Dae-Han are also Mr. Ken Nagayama from Japan, very, very good martial artist from, I believe, Okinawa. And the other gentleman is also a judo champion.
And in Best of the Best One, I don't know about two, Simon and Philip Rhee, when they did their fights together, actually at times really contacted with each other. I remember Simon kicking Philip directly in the face, I believe, and there was some real contact there that really adds to the credibility of the fighting.
Honey, they shot it down. I'm a sportscaster, I'm not an investigative reporter. Well, if I'm going to make allegations like these, I'm going to have to go through their proper procedure and...
And in this scene, for some reason, I played the floor manager at the TV station. Why I played the floor manager, I don't know. I get an opportunity to repeatedly throw Eric off the set. That was a little bit of fun. But it's intimidating to try to direct and try to act at the same time, especially when you can't act. And but it was kind of fun. I think somebody suggested maybe I play that role, and I just thought it would be fun to do so I did it.
Actually, he really wanted to do the role. That's why.
10 seconds. Alex, please. Please.
But I think this scene is a great scene because, one represents an obligation to her work and a desperation of the, of the boyfriend as to, we need to put this on the news. So it's always nice to see conflict between characters.
It would have been just as well without my acting.
You did a great job, Bob.
Thank you, Philip. I never did it again. This scene I have a lot to say about because I had planned a really spectacular scene. When we got to Mojave, California, I noticed just in our travels there that there was an airplane graveyard. It's where all the big passenger jets go to die, basically, when there's too many or they're older planes. They put them in the desert and they keep them there because there's no humidity, and I guess it's a good climate for jets to not deteriorate in. In going by this graveyard of airplanes, I saw 747s in a row, and I conceived of a scene where the kid would be chased by these bad guys, a kid on the bicycle, and would ride his bike under the underbellies of the planes where the car could not reach them. Unfortunately, and I choreographed it and shot noted it and did graphics. Unfortunately, on the day of, they wouldn't let me near the 747s. I just got these crappier little airliners. It totally blew my plans for the scene. And this was really my one big disappointment, that I did not get to do that 747s in a row scene. Nevertheless, this chase scene turned out pretty well. What you're seeing now was a stunt gone bad. We had a young kid that was going to do a bicycle stunt for us, and wasn't really a stunt man, just a good bicyclist. Chickened out at the last minute, so that was another disappointment in that scene.
I think this scene represents a parent's worst nightmare, for a kid to come out of school and having bad guys chasing.
Yes.
And as you can see now, the story begins to escalate.
This is actually one of my favorite scenes that I ever directed because of all the great detail, the action detail here. Things like that. Filmed through the glass table, and all of the things in their kitchen, things that are usually not objects of fear, blowing up coffee cans and blenders and coffee pots.
What's interesting is this fight scene, believe it or not, somebody told me they saw this fight scene, and I said, where did you see this fight scene? And he said, if you put Philip Rhee in YouTube, this scene is on YouTube, it's interesting how everything migrates, and, our fans take it and get it up there.
Some very creative choreography here, too. Both Philip's fights and Eric's as well. You got to talk, Philip, about the use of prosthetics.
Yeah, this scene, is the techniques is Hapkido, which is joint manipulation, and where you could break a guy's arm that way. And if it's applied, that technique will exactly do what you have seen on film. So it is a very powerful technique, and is it dangerous? Yes, it's very dangerous. Martial art is dangerous, and it's a movie, but in real life, never to use something like that unless your life is really in danger.
Which is why I never argue with Philip, because I know he knows how to disassemble my joints.
Right.
Vanished into thin air.
Brackers, there's no one more surprised than me.
Find them. Bring me the one who did this. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
I think after this film, Ralph had his own TV series after this film called, I believe it was Conan, wasn't it? Was it Conan?
I think so. And he had a big role in Gladiator, did he not?
That's right.
This location is in a place called California City, which is kind of near Mojave and kind of really in the middle of nowhere. And we just picked an old kind of roadhouse or something to create the homestead where the Tommy Lee character grew up. I've always had a fascination with Native Americans, American Indians, and I worked with them in other films, and I just really looked forward to using them, using some Indians and some of their culture in Best of the Best, too. There's something about the Indians' attitude, their sense of humor, just the way they view life that I really relate to.
So, Grandma,
I thought this would be the safest place to come.
You were lucky.
Thank you for taking this in.
I think you should talk to James.
I think this was an interesting character that Tommy Lee also, at one point in his life, was raised and taken care of by the Indians. I know at one time I went to a party and there were a bunch of Koreans, but they all spoke Spanish. And everybody came from Cuba. So what people perceive people to be are not, sometimes it's not true. And in this instance, it certainly is. I don't think nobody expected that Tommy Lee had a background and was raised by the Indians.
Speaking of Indians, this is Sonny Landham. And this scene happens to be one of my favorites in the film. He plays a drunk whose character arcs and he becomes a good guy, heroic. But he played a very convincing drunk and I think a very charismatic character, if you can call a drunk that.
Sonny, I don't know if, I think it was 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte that Sonny Landham came, and he had such a presence. That was a while back, but he's also a great character actor, great energy.
I don't fight drunks.
Drunk? This is nothing. Right here. Give me your best shot.
James.
I'll rip your fucking ears right off your goddamn head. And I'll stick 'em right where the sun don't shine. So you can hear me kick your butt.
Let's get out of here, man.
Can you believe this shit?
You damn
son of a bitch.
No.
Let's get some cookies.
Inside,
Cookies?
Cookies. Inside, Walter.
Oh, come on. I want to see this.
Come on, you candy ass.
Cut the crap, James. We're not kids anymore.
Come on, show me your stuff, boy. If you got any.
What is the matter with you?
James, I'm gonna have to hurt you, man.
This scene I just love because there's an understated humor to it.
Pretty good. You're gonna have to do better than that, boy. You got a little snap in those kicks, ain't you?
One of the things shooting in the desert is it's hot. And so that is always a challenge, I think. But in terms of, being away from the city, and I mean, this one particular scene was a little bit gross, but it served its purpose. There was some major animosity between Tommy Lee's character and Sonny's character.
We did have some weather problems, but they never really directly impacted the shoot. I recall when we were first doing that Where's James scene that introduces Sonny Landham, there was a sandstorm blowing outside that got worse and worse and worse. In fact, the line producer asked if he could ride back to the hotel in my car because it was the least likely to blow away. It was a lower, sportier car than some of the big production vehicles. It was kind of scary, actually. The house was shaking there for a while.
Then one day,
But I think we lucked out for the most part with weather.
went overseas to fight. He left without ever saying goodbye. Took Grandma's life savings. And I won't forgive him for
I'm sorry. Was he a good fighter?
It was funny, just a detail on this little place where Tommy Lee was raised. I put an owl there. I asked for owls and other, statuary. And when Betty Carvalho, I believe her name was, who plays the mom there, showed up, she saw the owl and totally freaked. I had no idea that Indians were afraid of owls and it meant bad luck. So I've kept that in mind ever since. This little training sequence was shot by Jerry Watson, who was our second unit cameraman, I guess you could call him. Jerry, our main cameraman, our main director of photography was Fred Thomas, and there was a point in the film where Fred got ill. So for a number of days, Jerry took over the helm of being the director of photography and did a very, very credible job of it.
Ooh. What's up, handsome?
And there's another scene where you can see the soft side of Eric Roberts.
What's up?
Eric has a daughter named Emma, who is now an actress in her own right. I'd like to think he practiced fathering on our films.
I promise.
I saw him kill Travis, Dad. I watched him die.
Again, this is California City, and it's the biggest city, I believe, you can check my facts, but the biggest city in California in terms of actual area. About 7 people live there, but it's a big, big city, town, whatever.
Yes.
Are you going to help Tommy?
Yeah, I'm gonna help, boy. Be my way.
This is a magic hour shot. Magic hour is as the sun is just descending, and it looks like nighttime. You can see the lights within the structure, but the sky is still visible. It's everybody's favorite time to shoot movies.
I know what happened to you and what you think it cost you.
I love this scene between the mother and the son.
Manhood returned home a drunken self-pity.
About a character who have felt that he's a loser and he has lost everything and lost the confidence in himself. And sometimes, that's why mom's gotta,
Help Tommy or pack your bags.
kick their kids in the butt to have them regain their sense of dignity and who they are. And I think that also happens in real life.
Walter! Walter! Yeah? Help me with the chicken feed, will you? Sure.
This location we used for the way station or the homestead was a real building, a real practical location that we turned into the home that we turned it into, a little shop or whatever. And it posed a problem later when it was time to blow it up. In most Hollywood films, when you blow something up, you don't blow up a real location. You blow up something that's made of cardboard or other things that when they fly through the air don't hurt you. But this was a real cinder block and steel structure. So when we blew this up, which is coming up soon, we had to be very, very careful and be hundreds and hundreds of feet away because the actual cinder blocks and metal pieces did fly a long, long way. In fact, the explosion was so big that it melted a camera. That was one of, I think, 7 cameras we had that day. I may be wrong about that number, but the closest in camera literally melted. And I really wanted to get it from the insurance company. I thought it would make a nice thing in my living room to see a melted Arri 3, but it didn't turn out that way.
Also, in terms of the character, Tommy Lee just, I think this is the first time for his character to cuss. He said, I'm tired of your shit. And most of the characters in Best of the Best films, we purposely left out the bad language because we felt that it wasn't necessary to mix both violent action sequence with language as well, because oftentimes a picture is viewed by younger audiences, and the younger audiences look at the characters in the film and they emulate them or take them as role models, and we are very sensitive to that. So, but anyways, that was just once we used the language.
And then using the language is more effective when you don't overuse it. If you use curse words once or twice, you notice them, they have real impact, as opposed to using them constantly.
With your hands, like this.
And here, Sonny is showing what he had to go through fighting Brackus, that when you fight Brackus, you might have to use one of these.
Okay. We got a long way to go, kid.
Is using staffs a traditional martial arts kind of thing?
Oh yeah. But here, Brackus really moved very well. In terms of just sheer strength alone, he makes such a formidable, good bad guy.
Well then, don't disappoint me. Bring me Tommy Lee, alive.
Oh, this is a scene that was near and dear to my heart. It's an Indian sweat lodge scene. I had actually participated in an Indian sweat lodge in real life when I first moved to Los Angeles and was working with the Doors on the movie we were going to make. And I participated in a sweat lodge where, boy, I heard people chanting in tongues, and it got so hot in there. I think I reached another plateau of pain that I've never reached before and transcended it. So it really left an impression on me, and I really wanted to put a sweat lodge scene, which is the Indians' church in a way, into this movie. But when we finally got there and it was time to shoot it, we realized that the actual sweat lodge, unless there were holes in the covering, could not be lit. So Fred Thomas, our DP, spent a lot of time just cutting little slits in the sweat lodge covering and experimenting with shining light through. And the result, I think, was super successful. And it goes into kind of a Tommy Lee fantasy or dream sequence, which is what happens in a sweat lodge in real life. And I just really love this scene. Also asked the Indians to bring their own music to the scene, which I feel is very, very haunting.
I think fire represents danger.
And the heat of the sweat lodge.
Fire represents a certain power that, how would you?
Well, in this, the way I'd put it is, in the sweat lodge, it's like the world's hottest sauna. It's like a sauna times 100, and they put the stones in fire, and then they bring the red hot stones into the sweat lodge. So if there's one thing that ought to be representative of what the sweat lodge is, it's heat. It's heat, one of the natural elements: earth, air, fire, water. We chose fire for that particular scene.
Also, this scene between the grandma and Alex's son talks about fear, and I think all kids growing up face certain kind of fear. And so that was a nice, for me, I think that was a very nice little scene that deals with fear. Here, everybody's working out, and the transition from not knowing how to use the bow to really understanding how to use it. And Eric and I both got really proficient at doing this. That's Eric doing his own stunts. There's no stunt double or nothing like that, because we wanted to make everything as real as possible.
And this is the Valley of Fire, the location I mentioned earlier, north of Las Vegas. It's a place where, in the middle of a very brown desert, all of a sudden there are these miraculously red rocks, and usually, of course, not right in this scene, but very, very blue sky. And even as the sun goes down in the Valley of Fire, which is full of caves and petroglyphs and all kinds of wonderful ancient symbolism, those rocks stay red, and that sky stays blue for too long. It's a scary place as the sun goes down. I just love the lighting on this little scene. The way that we lit up the interior of their little shop there just really gets me.
Night sleep. And tomorrow we begin our journey.
This is the scene I referred to earlier, where the homestead is attacked and eventually results in the explosion that I mentioned. That was just so big and hot and violent.
This guy with the gun,
Matt Thomas was his name.
Right. He wasn't in Special Forces background. He was so knowledgeable of various different firearms. And he also was such a great guy to work with, because he was the real thing.
Very low-key, very quiet, very scary. The ultimate bad guy in this scene is Patrick Kilpatrick in The White. Every day, Patrick would come to me in the morning with the way he had rewritten the scene. He basically rewrote the whole movie every day, and I'd always listen. And every now and then he had a great idea, and I really appreciated his input. He's an actor's actor.
James! Move and I'll pop her a third eyeball.
Things like that. Move and I'll pop her a third eyeball probably was written by Patrick Kilpatrick. And this scene where Sonny Landham takes a lot of bullet hits was a particularly scary one, because when an actor has to take that many squib hits, it can actually be dangerous. So we took a lot of care on this scene. Because those squib hits are little pieces of explosive that explode in your shirt. And when you're doing multiple ones, you have to really be aware of things like where your arms are when the squibs go off. It really is, it has an impact on the actors. And doing like 11 or 12 of them, as we did that day, was something that took us a long time to pull off.
Inside.
I was really impressed with Sonny Landham's acting on this film. He really, really put himself into it.
Inside, please.
The gentleman with the ponytail here, his name is Master Myung Kim. He is a real martial art master who has studied the arts for a very long time. Very proficient in weapons and hand-to-hand style of Chorchin martial arts. And very dangerous guy.
Run it all the way out to the chopper.
You too, kid. Come on, let's go. I don't have all day.
What are you, deaf, tough guy? Courage. Or you want to take it in the face?
Where's Gus?
It's about time.
They're expecting 4 shots.
The rattlesnake rattle is obviously an Indian symbol, and I think fits well into the rest of the mythology that we're presenting here.
Don't you ever touch me!
I'm sure we didn't write that line, "Don't you ever touch me." That's Mr. Kilpatrick ad-libbing. And he does tend to get over the top a little bit, but in moderation, I think it's enjoyable.
Can I, Mr. Finch? Let me do it.
I think these days it's hard to do an action film without a certain amount of humor, and I tried to keep it dark. This is the explosion scene I referred to that was so violent. It was done with gasoline for the most part. But again, we're blowing up a real structure here, so it was some serious stuff. My brain tells me we had 7 cameras for this. Well, obviously, one was in the helicopter, and there were a whole bunch positioned around the explosion. I'm not sure. It might have been 5. Those 2 numbers stick in my head. It was a while ago. But in scenes like this, you use small, inexpensive cameras as well that you can position behind things or in the ground, that if they do get destroyed, it's no great loss. Unfortunately, one of the cameras we lost here was an ARRI 3, which was a big-ticket item. That's why we had insurance. I think a lot of Phillips' nonverbal acting, too, in this film is particularly effective. He does a lot with his eyes.
I'll take my hand. Hey, Grandma, come on.
By the way you do the aftermath of an explosion like that, you see the fire is still burning after the big boom, is with rubber cement. They spread, well, and there are some fire bars in there, too, that run on natural gas, but the rubber cement, you just kind of paint it onto surfaces and light it on fire. Somebody goes around with a torch, and you get this effect. That's rubber cement.
Grandma? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Enough!
In terms of the black humor, I just love Wayne Newton's performance in this scene. He's so kind of sleazy, but it works so well. It's so Wayne.
I believe you two have met before.
Tommy Lee, thank you for joining us. Do you know?
I think he plays a great character. Oh, he said that again. He said the S word again. So he said it twice.
I actually think he said it 3 times. I think when the scene with James laid out on the car, Tommy Lee says something about, "What is this shit?" or something like that. I think he said it 3 times, Philip.
And when you're finished with the gladiators, and then Mr. Brackus finishes with you, the last thing through your mind will be your ass.
Wayne wrote that. The last thing through your mind will be your ass. I don't know what that means, but it's graphic.
I think what's great about Bob in terms of his direction is he gives free rein for actors to try different things. And I think so that actors are not restricted to the, not just the words, but the interpretation of those words. So I think that really helps actors to try different things.
I can't take all the credit for that, though, because Wayne Newton plays a hell of a Wayne Newton.
Give you time to study for this test. But here it is. How many of you believe that a martial artist could defeat a world champion boxer? How many believe yes? How many believe no? Okay, well, I say let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our champion martial artist.
This was the beginning of the so-called mixed martial arts coming onto the scene.
I asked Philip at one point, in real life, if you had to fight a guy as big as Brackus, as big as Ralph Merler, how would you do it? And he said, well, the first thing I'd do is bring him down to my size. And of course, that would involve breaking his leg. And as you look at this scene now with this bigger boxer, you'll see exactly what he was talking about.
Now, I thought the Hammer was a rapper. What do I know? Now remember, when the buzzer sounds, there is only one rule. And you love it, yeah!
That was in the script. Because this is Vegas. There's no rules in Vegas. What do they say? What you do in Vegas stays in Vegas?
That's right.
Now, in terms of the fight, especially what Bob has mentioned, I mean, somebody who is that tall, the fastest way to take out a person is to take out their legs first. And boxers are great boxers. Boxers are wonderful with their hands, but they lack various different techniques such as kicking or grabbing. Where opposed to judo, they're great at grabbing and throwing, but they don't have hand techniques or kicking techniques. So that's the difference of mixing various different martial arts to see what is stronger, what is effective, and what is not effective.
Tommy Lee!
I love how Wayne keeps saying to Philip, work with me, work with me. He's Mr. Show Business.
Next contest will begin shortly. Just time enough to go potty and come back and place your bets.
Go potty and come back and place your bets has to be from Wayne's Las Vegas show.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second battle of the evening. Tommy Lee versus the man who won the...
In terms of casting the various fighters, we try to get really great fighters who are physically in top shape. We wanted to make this really the best of the best. This guy, I mean, you could tell from each and every one of the characters, fighters, they're in terrific shape. They're strong. I mean, these guys are lethal.
Wasn't this a Greek fellow like an Olympic wrestling champ or something?
Right. The elbows are used for close distance fighting. What I try to convey here is the first line of defense if somebody comes into your space is to use your kick. If they break through the kick, you use the punch. If they get through the punch, you use the elbow. And if all else fails, you have to headbutt. But as you notice, the fight scenes are done in a way that we try to show in full frame rather than getting really choppy with the editing. This gentleman, Master Kim, as you can see, he's for real. He's the real thing.
We try to stay on his good side.
Right.
Well, it's interesting the way we do fight coverage is we start pretty wide, and we start usually with multiple cameras. And depending on the fight and what kind of choreography is used, we'll typically go in tighter for kind of a two-shot like you're seeing now. And sometimes we'll go handheld and get actually into the fight, within the fight, have the camera represent the eyes of one of the participants. Sometimes that's the most effective. Sometimes it isn't. I think the one argument I think I had with my DP on this show is in the final scene where the fighters are using staffs. He wanted to keep it wide. No, actually, I think he wanted to keep it very, very tight. I correct myself. He wanted to keep it very tight, and I wanted to get wide so you could see the actual staffs and how they contacted each other in their real choreography. So we compromised. The fight coverage therein needs a lot of coverage, and you need to be very, very creative. We ended up with a lot of cameramen with black eyes, too. Like when we get really close and we'd be hand-holding, very often the camera would get kicked, which kind of impact the cameraman's eye. It's happened more than once, but that's going for it. Like right here, the cameraman is at some risk when you're that close to those nunchucks.
I believe in the UK, they had to cut this scene out because in the UK, in England, the nunchucks were outlawed. And I believe that scene did not make it.
I remember asking Philip on the set, how would you fight a guy with nunchucks? I guess he's showing us here. Some of the choreography here that Philip and Simon did is just so creative. Ouch.
Ouch. In terms of the using the technique to break someone's arm, again, is some of the things that you could practice, but in film you could really show it through prosthetics and so on as to how the technique is really applied and how it would work.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the tradition of the Coliseum, we present...
The soundtrack, the music was scored by a gentleman by the name of David Michael Frank. David, he composed films for a lot of, I think several Steven Seagal's films, like Above the Law and Hard to Kill and others. And he was one of those composers who understood action. And I mean, there's a lot of wonderful composers out there, but David Michael Frank was a guy for us after interviewing many different composers, because he understood the dramatics as well as action.
And we wanted a big warrior kind of theme, and he really aced it.
Yeah, who is it?
Open up, Sue. It's me.
Alex?
This scene was so pivotal, where the Eric Roberts character is going off to fight for his life and leaving his son behind and his girlfriend. And a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the direction of this and the planning because it was just so emotional. We didn't want to go too overboard with it, but I think we found a very good place for it.
Of course I will.
Dad.
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
I don't want to lose you.
There's no way in hell you're gonna lose me. I'm gonna go get Tommy, and then Tom and I are gonna come get you. In the meantime, you stay here.
Like swear words, crying is something that has to be done in moderation. I felt one of my mistakes in Best of the Best One was that I let the film become a little too weepy at points. So I wanted to make sure if we had that kind of scene, that it's only in a place where it's really appropriate and where it really works. And I believe this scene does. And we end it a little lighter.
I'm sorry that I let you down.
Come here.
I think there's a fine line in action films to bring in dramatic scenes where characters to show emotion or tears. But, you know, I always believe that the stronger the character, they could show their emotions. And the weaker the characters, they try to hide their emotions. So, but of course in moderation, as Bob says.
This is another part of our Coliseum set. You don't see it that much in the film, but this really was a big set that we built. And this is kind of the back room where the bets are placed. You'll see it more in a minute.
The difference between Tommy's training and Bracca's training, one was to show strength like Bracca's. Bracca's is just pure strength. And we tried to show that Tommy is more the opposite, using physical agility opposed to strength alone.
Tough guy. Brackus has put this on.
Yeah. Did you order the double security downstairs like I asked?
Beautiful example of Wayne Newton being Wayne Newton. I had the pleasure of seeing Wayne's Las Vegas show after we filmed this and realized that a lot of the shtick that he did in the movie is directly out of his show, but it's all very effective. And frankly, I never thought Wayne is not my favorite kind of music, but I gotta say that his Las Vegas show is spectacular. Works for everyone, including me.
To the B Roach if you want to stop on by later. Hey, bring your friend, huh? Hey, woo-woo. Hey, stranger. You look like you're a real stranger in these parts. Where the hell are you from anyway, huh? Houston. 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 Hey, Blondie, come on over here, man.
I love this backlit scene. Philip looks so good.
See what just a little light could do.
And the direction of the crowd was all important. You know, they couldn't just lag. They really had to be part of what was going on. And Wayne really helped with that, man. He really knows how to work a crowd.
The event of a lifetime! Freshly, our challenger, Vanquisher, he kicked the shit out of...
I don't think another actor could pull it off what Wayne did. I think he was so perfect for it. He was so natural in his element as a showman, but also as an actor, because he's he brings his special quality into it. But as an actor, Wayne is such a terrific actor.
You can see how much he loves what he does. And that's just not an act. That's really Wayne. He is Mr. Show Business. Show business is his life. He says that somewhere in the film. You know, there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief required for this film to believe that there really is a club underground in Las Vegas where people fight to the death, but maybe not that much of a suspension of disbelief. And boy, did we find the right master of ceremonies.
And what Bob was talking about, using the usage of nitrogen to get the fog effect. And that was, it had a great visual effect, but at the same time, when you're breathing it and doing action scenes all day long, it wasn't fun.
And it was problematic. Sometimes there would be too much. Sometimes there would be too little. It would get in the way of the lighting. It would put out the fires below it. It was really problematic, and we burned through a vast amount. I think some films must be made for the amount that we probably spent on nitrogen.
Right. This guy in this bodyguard, by the way, his name is Kane Hodder, I believe. Kane is the star of. Have you ever seen the? I'm sure you guys have seen the. Was it Jason in Friday the 13th? Is it Friday the 13th that plays Jason? He's the guy. Yeah.
They found the right guy.
When Brackus or Ralph, he puts you in a position like that, and he puts you in an arm lock, you could really feel it because he's got such a strength. The guy could press, like 350 pounds. It's pretty amazing. This is a great fight scene between the Korean team, Eric, the reinforcement, the cavalry has come.
Yeah, it was fun kind of intercutting the two fight scenes, the one in the ring and the one behind the scenes.
Tear his head off.
This position here, if Brackus really wanted to snap my arm, he would have broke it like a toothpick.
Did you have to think twice before you bit him? Was that a manly thing to do?
No, that was the right thing to do. At that, at that situation, this the triple kick on the floor is Tommy Lee's signature kick. I try to use techniques that nobody has done before, and to show a new variety of techniques, like the scissors kicks to tackle your opponent. This one we had to choreograph and rehearse a lot because the timing aspect of it. If the timing was not there, then the fight scene would not look real. And we tried to make it as realistic as possible. And what was a pleasure was that though Ralph was so big in terms of just, he's 6'8", and for him to move like that, for a normal guy of his size and stature, it would look somewhat clumsy. But he pulled it off because he really studied hard. Even the staff, the bow techniques that he did, he really worked at it, and so you could see just in terms of his agility, his fighting skills, his physicality. It all came together.
In terms of the way the final fight was covered, what we had planned ahead of time was to go tighter and tighter and tighter to give you really the sense that you're in the fight. But when I realized that we were using staffs, which I think came up a little later, I'm not sure, it was important to me that every now and then we backed up so we could really see, and had a wider shot so we could really see what was going on and the choreography. So there's a little bit of both. You really feel like you're in the fight, but the camera does pull back from time to time, and you get to see the full scene and what's really going on, like even this shot from straight down.
Also, we wanted to get a sense of a modern-day gladiators, where from the beginning of times when people, as a sports event, love to see two gladiators, two warriors fight in a ring. That transcend to in all arts, whether it's martial arts, or whether it's boxing, or whether it's wrestling. I guess it's within our human nature to see who would win and who is the strongest. That's, I think, that whether it's a football game or any game, we want to see who would be the winner. And in this case, is physical.
Come and get me.
He's got a lot of balls.
Again, Eric Roberts pulls off his fight scenes really, really well. And that's my brother Simon with his triple aerial kick, which is one of his signatures. Now here, none of this sequences has any camera trickery as to speeding up the fight scenes, which a lot of the martial art films do. They actually crank the camera at a lower speed to make it look faster. But we never wanted to do anything like that, so...
I guess the only thing we did that wasn't real was we added some sparks to the impact of the staffs on each other.
That's right.
In post-production.
Buck stops here, bucko.
You. I owe you.
I think the cutaway of this film really helped the energy of the fight sequences, because between Tommy Lee fighting, between Alex Grady, Eric's character fighting, the Korean team fighting, and with the bouncers, it all comes to a crescendo.
You can see how working in that nitrogen atmosphere could have been wearing on the athletes who were fighting.
There's one sequence that's coming up. This one, we wanted to make contact, and actually we created a prosthetic head of Brackus's face, so we could actually make contact. And it really turned out well.
You did a mold of his actual face, right?
Yeah.
And here's more of our wonderful audience. They were really, really into their role.
Again, Tommy is not a killer. Tommy's character was never meant to be a killer. Ours, a reluctant hero, as our producer Peter Strauss would say. Never want to go and look for a fight, but to defend and to help others.
Stay down and live.
And basically, Tommy Lee is giving the chance to Brackus to stand back. But here, when he doesn't, he has done something that really go against everything that he believes, but out of the situation and the necessity, he's taken somebody's life. It's a situation of, kill or to be killed.
The ownership of the Coliseum passed to the strongest.
The new owner and master of the Coliseum, Tommy Lee.
Well, you see, the champ is a little new to public speaking, but believe me when I tell you, you're going to be seeing a lot more of him right here at the Coliseum in the months and the years to come. Everybody, come on.
Tommy Lee represents everything that is noble about the martial arts, and that's the one thing about all the best of the best movies. It deals with the nobility of the sport and doing the right thing.
Champ, say a few things. Champ, this is it. You gotta talk to these people. Say a few things. Do it for me.
Say so.
The Coliseum is closed.
What? Wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Wait! Hey, wait a minute, guys. You need me. You can't do this. You gotta think this over, champ. You gotta think this over. This is not chicken feed. This is $20 million a year, champ. Think about this.
I think this scene is the nobility of Tommy's character. He doesn't care about the money. He tries to stand for what is right, regardless of money, and I think that's what we set out to achieve. And I think Bob did a terrific job as a director, and loved working with Bob. And our producer Peter Strauss did a terrific job. My brother, in terms of his actions and fight choreography and all those involved. And they're the ones who really made this film. It was a joint effort of everyone's passion, and also for our viewers. Without our viewers and our fans, Best of the Best 2 would never have gone to Best of the Best 3 and 4. So we thank you. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
And as Philip always says, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And it's not an easy thing to make a movie. But with the kind of driven and kind of noble people that came together to do this film, it is a pleasure.
And also, it's great to see all the characters from the Best of the Best films that have went out and they became big stars in their own rights, and big film editors and production designers. And it's really great to see so many people that we work with have blossomed into something bigger than all of us. And I think that's what it's about. It's about being the best. And I think that's what the film represents. This is Philip Ree commentating on Best of the Best 2. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you again, and very shortly and very soon.
And this is Robert Radler signing off. Thanks for watching.